being part of a fintech and a vendor to banks today, that whole notion of big financial institutions working with startups was completely unheard of 5 years ago. It isn't anymore.
We're constantly challenged by disruptors out there. For the longest time, I think people believe fintechs are more disruptors than partners. And as we see today, fintechs are more partners to the banks in terms of how we look at the customer journey and solve for different parts of that equation.
What we're starting to see right now is a huge influx of new competition and new entrants to the market who are coming from other countries or other continents or from other completely different businesses. So Apple, for example. Apple are about to launch a physical credit card. If you were to go back 8 years and say, is Apple going to be a threat to the financial services industries? You'd be like, no. Well, now it's very much a part of the financial services industries. Facebook has a banking license in Europe. The Chinese social networks all have very large financial offerings now. And all of those things wouldn't have been foreseen 5 or 6 years ago. And I think you have to, if you're only looking within your own business or only looking within your own field, you're going to be crushed in the onslaught when the new entrants arrive.
I think it's so critical that all companies use digital and design thinking with every breath that they take in their occupation. Because if you don't, you really become the frog in the pot. So the frog in the pot story is that somebody put a frog in cold water in a pot and they slowly increased the heat until it was boiling and the frog was dead. But the frog didn't feel the heat and just died. So, you don't expect to be thrown into boiling water. I mean, technology doesn't change instantly. Generation Z is not gonna automatically buy a whole life insurance policy from you. But I think if you don't use that thinking on a day-to-day basis, then you're really at risk of being disrupted.
I think first of all, every organization should define its role in the world. Even before moving into human-centered design practices, the bigger question is an existential one. Why do we deserve to exist? What is the unique value that we can provide as a company in a society and for human beings? And once you have that figured out, sort of your unique market definition, of that, you have to execute against that. And I think there these human-centric design methods are absolutely very valuable.
Everybody's trying their level best to be a customer-centric organization, and human-centered design is a big part of it. That's how you think about customer journeys, what their needs and wants are, and how to kind of fulfill that.
Before we spend a dime on anything, we talk to our customers first. We also then don't believe our customers because people say one thing and then they behave differently. So we will build these small toys or tools with very small budget and then float them out to our customers and then see if our customers actually use it or if they don't touch it. And then from there, we'll look at investing in bigger partnerships. And then, yeah, of course, using the data that we found from these toys to inform actually building something internally.
Data means everything. We look at vast amounts of data that exist out there in terms of what our customers really need. In fact, even building something like the chatbot, we looked at real life cases of what do people actually ask when they call in or visit a branch. And as I mentioned, self-service online is one of the biggest things people ask for. Branches is one of the biggest things people ask for, because you always want to build a product that people are going to use at the end of the day. And if you don't kind of build that with a platform or a foundation of data, then it's just a product.
Well, you're not going to do your banking through virtual reality. Almost certainly not, because that would be stupid and weird. But virtual reality as a technology is very interesting and very promising and will transform the world in some way. Will make a cultural change, will make a social change. And so the banking that you do is in a world where VR has happened.
Think realistically and what do you do for people? Just try to avoid those labels, because I think those labels have become very problematic. I mean, ideally, you actually start by studying people and thinking about how do you create a very meaningful relationship with them. And I don't think it's about digital first. I don't think it's about just creating experiences, but defining first, like, what's your role? Like, how can you create a very valuable relationship with those people?